Hi everyone. So let's see how we're working on this one today. We're starting with the if function. Most of you have already been able to do the first two chapters with no problem, but now we're starting to come to functions in Excel that are really important and will save us some time. And also, those of you who are going on to programming, this is very important, this if function. So let's start with the basics. You see the sentence that I have over here. If the weather is sunny, then I will go to the park. If not, I will go to the movies. Well, the idea of an if function, you'll notice this, is the if. The logic test is the weather is sunny. That's where the test is. This is what I want you to understand. If the weather is sunny, the true value is I will go to the park. If the statement is the value is false, all right. If not, then go to the movies. All right, you get the idea. So we're testing. If the weather is sunny, then I go to the park. True value. If the weather is not sunny, then I'm going to go to the movies. False, because the weather is not sunny. So the formula, take a look at the formula here, folks. The formula to show this logic test is, here's the if. Okay, this is how it looks in Excel. You see the equal sign? You already know that you use an equal sign when you're starting a function or a formula. So an if function is a formula it's a collection of formulas, so to speak. So here's equals f, the logic test, the weather is sunny, the value, if it's positive, if the weather is sunny, then I go to the park. If the value is false, then I go to the movies. Translated, this whole thing is if the weather is sunny, park. If the weather is not sunny, movies. Okay, you see that? Good. Now, the example in the lab book on page 164, okay? You don't have to turn to the page on 164 because I typed it up for you. We will assign in cell B18, so you already know what B18 means, all right? That's the column and 18 is the row. The following. If, okay, B13 is greater than or equal to, all right, the contents in, you know that this is an absolute cell reference, then this is what's going to happen. This is the true content, and then the zero is the false. So let's translate it. This means if the revenue in B13, and that's what we're using, revenue in B13 is greater than or equal to the sales revenue for the bonus value in cell B7, then the value of 200,000, which could be 200,000 pennies, but we know it's $200,000, in cell B2 will be assigned to cell B18. That means that this is true. If this is true, then this is the value that's going to be in cell B18. All right, remember, we're going to assign in cell B18 the value of this if function. If the value is false, all right, if the revenue in B13 is less than the sales revenue for the bonus value in cell B7, then zero will be assigned to cell B18. You get it? Okay. I know it's going to take a little while, but let's take a look at it again. All right. Here's what we're testing. We're testing to see if B13 is greater than or equal to the revenue in cell B7. If it is, then that value of $200,000 will be in cell B2. If it's false, then what's going to be in cell B18 will be zero because it's false. Think of this, the weather. If the weather is sunny, I will go to the movies. If the weather is not sunny, if the weather is sunny, I will go to the park. If the weather is not sunny, then I will go to the movies. So let's take a look at another example in table 3.8 on page 165. This is just a little bit easier for you to understand. We will assign in cell C20, all right, column C, row 20, the following. If B12 equals 200, then whatever the product of F3 times H4, that's the true. If B12 equals 200, then this is what's going to happen. If it's not, if B12 is not equal to 200, then the sum of E10 and F3 will be the answer, will be assigned to cell C20. All right, you get the idea? Think about this. If B12 is equal to 200, then the product of F3 times H4 will be in C20. If B12 is not equal to 200, then the sum of E10 and F3 will be in C20. Okay, and let's take a look at what that looks like in terms of English. Translated, if the contents in B12, as you see here, is equal to 200, then the value of the contents in C20 will be assigned the results of F3 times H4. If the contents in B12 do not equal 200, then the value of the contents in cell C20 will be assigned the results of E10 plus F3. Remember our basic logical pattern for the if function. Equals if, and in parentheses, we have to put the parentheses, the logical test, what we're testing, B12 equals 200 or B13 is greater than and equal to whatever the original, sorry, B12, here it is, B13 is greater than or equal to the absolute value of B7, okay, then that's true. If it's false, then you're going to have another reading. So that's the idea, all right? Think in terms of our park, of our weather. If the weather is sunny, okay, that's the logical test over here. If the weather is sunny, if B12 equals 200, if B13 is greater than or equal to the absolute value of cell B7, then the value will be true. There'll be a value for this. If the test is wrong, all right, if it's going to rain, then I'm going to go to the movies. All right. If it's not sunny, then that's false because I have the word not. Okay. So take a look. If B12 does not equal, if the contents in B12 do not equal 200, then the value of the contents of the cell will be in C20. All right. A little tricky, but go back over this again. You may want to repeat this screencast to make sure that you understand the concept before you complete the following exercise from your lab textbook. And don't worry, I'm obviously the assignment is in this assignment is in your assignment site, okay, in Blackboard. All right, so you're going to complete letters A through H in understanding logical tests and absolute cell referencing and apply your knowledge on page 204. Again, ladies and gentlemen, any questions that you may have, make sure you post them in the Q&A because other students may have the same question and may not have even thought about it as yet, but because they might not have done the assignment. Or other students have gotten the answer and will help you. I am not the only one who has all the answers in the class. All right? So thank you all very much, and just let me know if you have any questions. All right, thank you. Bye-bye.